In the extraordinary council meeting for the 10th of November, as my iPad has died. So this morning we have an apology from Jeff Hayward, so I'll move that, seconded by Councillor Trillin. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Now we're going to have the swearing in of Izzy Ford, seeing she was away. So Izzy, I'll come over to you and we'll make the declaration.
Whawhtai te lava mo le awanoa. E mua na si ilivi inga ma le whawhtai le atua o na wau lia ma le manuia le nei wha moi moi. Ma lo lava le soifua maua ma le langi e mama. Ko au a Izzy Ford. Ko taku kupu tēnei. Ka tutuki i a au ki taku e pono nei, e tō tika nei, e mātau nei ngā kāwenga katoa hei painga mo te rohe o Porirua City. I runga i te mana kua riro mai i a au hei mema o te kaunihira o Porirua City, i raro anō i te ture kāwanatanga a rohe o te tau 2002, te ture pārongo huinga o kawa a kāwanatanga a rohe, ko tahi mano, i warau, waru te kauma whitu, me tahi atu ture rānei. Whawhtai. Sign away my life, 3 years.
Thank you, Izzy, and welcome back. Okay, yep, we'll do a photo. Yes. Right, welcome back, Izzy, thank you. Sorry you weren't here for the other one, but I'm pleased you had a good break. Public forum. No items of public forum. Any conflicts of interest this morning? No. I've had no notification of extraordinary business. So we'll move to our first report, 8.1. And I will move it to put it on the table. Seconded by Councillor Duncan. So, any discussion on this, or who wants to lead it out? Councillor Nathan?
Councillor Waddle.
Sorry.
Call me what you want. Just on page 62 and diligent, or 53 of the report, it's talking about the harbour. Just in regards to the samples taken during summer, we had a 93% rating for the previous year, but then down to 69% last year. Was that down to the number of samples taken, or is there any other extenuating circumstances?
Is it me? Sorry, everyone's looking to me. I don't know. I know we've discussed this earlier at the draft side of things, and there was a conversation about COVID interfering with the sampling, etc. But I'll take your query up with Nigel, and perhaps we'll get back to you in the CEO's Friday email. Would that be all right? Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I'll ask Sam Neal from EY and Warren Allen as chair of Audit and Risk to come forward. Have you got any comments on the annual report before there's any more questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, councillors. Really the only comment to make, Madam Chair, is that this is an unusual situation. Generally, the annual report and financial statements for the outgoing council is finalised at the last meeting of the outgoing council. But for reasons I'll explain in just a minute, the situation is different this year. The last meeting of the outgoing council on the 22nd of September considered the annual report and financial statements as it was at that stage, but it wasn't able to be finalised. And the reason is that our auditors, EY, on behalf of the Office of the Auditor General, rely quite extensively on Wellington Water and their auditors who Audit New Zealand. And many of you may be aware that Audit New Zealand have had tremendous resource issues over the last couple of years post-pandemic. and also quite a large increase in their workload. So they weren't able to give clearance to our auditors, Ernst & Young, in time for that annual report to be finalised in September 22. Also, there were one or two queries when we brought it to the last meeting of the previous council. They have been worked on, and what you have in front of you today to approve is pretty much the same set of financial statements as was discussed at that meeting, apart from the response to one or two of those queries that were raised at that meeting. The situation should not arise at the next election, but who knows what the situation will be like in those times. Certainly, on behalf of the Audit and Risk Committee, we'd done our due diligence on the annual report in September. We'd done our drilling down, if you like, in terms of seeking explanations, and we were comfortable that set of financial statements was before council for approval. But Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions that your councillors have.
Thank you. Anything from you, Sam?
Thank you, Mayor. I think Warren summarised it really well. Our work was substantially complete at September, and it's now complete. The paper that accompanies the draft annual report provides an overview of the key changes, and if I just draw your attention to page 6 of item 8.1, there's some additional disclosure relating to the water loss measure, and that's really just adding some clarity around the changes that supported removing the qualification you had in 2021. So we signalled to council at September we were waiting on Audit New Zealand in respect to that work, and there were two elements that were qualified in the 2021 year. The impact on our 2022 opinion is the water loss measure is a clean audit report in that regard. That's brought about from some changes in how Wellington Water has installed some meters and measured performance for the 22 year, so there's a note that provides explanation of that. The remaining consequence for that in our audit report is we just call out that the 2021 item that was qualified and the 2022 item that isn't aren't comparable because of the challenges we had in the past. That leaves the complaints measure, which we traversed at the last meeting, so that's proceeded as expected, and we continue to have a qualification in that regard.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions from anybody? No? Okay. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Move to our next report. Expressions of interest to join the Welcoming Communities program. I'll move it to put it on the table, seconded by Councillor Ford. Councillor Hayward tells me he's very excited about this, even though he can't join the meeting. So open for comment. You want to make a comment, Ruben, first before?
Yeah, kia ora koutou. In summary, this is 3 years of funding to have a person join our partnerships team to help support migrant communities in Porirua, engage with the City Councillor better. We have our officers here, Kate Bucock and Pete Barton, if you have any deeper questions about it. I assume that everyone's read the report, and we're very supportive of the options presented.
Okay, any questions for any of them? No, straight. Oh yes, Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, look, it's a lovely idea, and I see it's funded for 3 years. After that, we then take up the funding of it, I assume. What worries me is this is a time when we're trying to look at cutting costs, and all we're doing here is adding another expense, I think, to council. I saw on page 59 that it tells us anecdotal officer feedback suggests the long-term plan and annual plan and district plan don't accommodate refugees well. I've been in a number of meetings with refugees and had great discussions with them at these, and so I'm not sure that's actually a fair comment on that. I don't think it's a good idea we get into this unless we have some more guaranteed funding for it.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, Councillor Philo and then Councillor Trillin.
Can I ask, will you be hiring out or will it be in-house, the FDE who will be doing this role?
I'm going to invite our officers to the table if Kate is able to answer some of these questions. But in response quickly, there is no obligation on us to hire somebody at the end of this term. They are encouraging it, but we're not obliged to it, so there won't necessarily be additional cost to us. And I'm unsure about who would be appointed to this role. I'm assuming that we would probably go through a HR process with that. Kate Bucock has written the report and understands the application a lot better if elected members have questions for her.
Councillor Trillin?
Yeah, just wanted to quickly say I think that this is a fantastic idea. The way that this is described as a program to build connections between newly arrived resident communities, welcoming people into our communities, I see that building that social cohesion as being a core part of council business. So I think this is a really great idea and I'm really happy to support it.
Okay. Taku?
Yeah, myself too, really happy to support this. I think one of the key values that council always puts into the community is our ability to manaakitanga. If we ain't going to live up to that, then let's just take it right out. I mean, these people come from sometimes war-torn communities. They come from real bad, been hammered well and truly, and they're looking for some solace to raise families, and I think we have an obligation. So.
Councillor Ford?
Kia ora. Yeah, I'm in full support of this report as well. I very much like our kaumātua taku. For every engaged person that Councillor Duncan would have come across, there are 4 or 5 others that wouldn't have been, and I think this is a good move for our council to be more inclusive of our migrants that come into our city, so I'm fully supportive. I did have one little question, because in the report it does say it's 50k for each year, but and that there could be a small amount attributed to council that we would be paying. Is it 1,000? Thank you, officer.
Would you just like to
Delegate.
8?
Thank you. So the $50,000 is ring-fenced for a salary. I've spoken to Immigration New Zealand and they've said that as part of that, we can use a small portion for it for salary-related costs. Most of the salary-related costs, as far as I understand, would be to do with setting up a new person or a new staff member around ICT, and that would be included as well. So $50,000 would not get you a full-time person, but it would get you a part-time, which is sort of how we're managing the Pacific engagement. We have sort of the equivalent of 1 full-time person. So it's less than that, but the size of the population that we're looking to serve is also smaller than that. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Wehapi?
Yeah, I think sometimes investing in people is just as important as bricks and mortar, so I'll be supporting this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Leggett?
Sorry, I mean, look, I support this. It's a great idea. There's no doubt about it. But I am conscious that of what Councillor Duncan said in terms of I'm sure there will be some costs in the first 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, the pressure will come on council, albeit probably another council, to have to add to our FTE count in council. And when we're looking at what's happening to costs at the moment, I'm sure it probably won't be that much different in 3 years' time. We need to be conscious of that and be prepared to make hard decisions at the end of it.
Okay, thank you. All right, I fully support this. So I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. We move to... Oh, no. Yes, recorded. Thank you, Councillor. Move to 8.3, elected member remuneration. I will move it to put it on the table. Seconded to put it on the table. Councillor Waddle. Open for discussion. Yep, Councillor Philo.
Good morning. So I had a question around the process of how you landed at these figures, given that the pool has gone up 9%, us as councillors at a base rate has gone up 10%, the new TPK or Tipuna Kōrero chair, joint chair, that's gone up 15%. But my question around that process is, in particular, the deputy mayor has gone down 12%. So I'd like to know a little bit more around the process of how you landed at those figures, but also I'd be interested to know with my colleagues here how comfortable they feel when getting an increase in their remuneration when the deputy mayor is getting a 12% decrease.
Okay. Lindley and I guess I will answer for Lindley, sit down. She has a little calculator and we didn't do percentages. We just did how we could get figures evenly. And with the extra chair, I was trying to keep the councillors on the set wage at 55, and so that's where it came from. And last term, the TPK chair, the work was higher than the deputy, just more work to do, and that's where it came from. So I didn't actually go into percentages. Fair enough comment, Lindley? Yes. Yep, Councillor Ford.
When Councillor Filo sent her email through and had voiced her concerns, I also was thinking shared the same sort of concerns. I know, like having worked under two different mayors, the first mayor I was, as the deputy mayor, had to do quite a lot of the work and had to share quite a lot of that burden. It was awesome. And then obviously under Anita, who takes on a lot of the work herself, the workload wasn't as heavy. However, the deputy mayor's role is quite an important role, and I have similar views as Kathleen in that it should reflect the responsibility and the importance of that role as well. So those are my views on that. Sorry, I should also add, because if the mayor is out of action, in which, like in my first term, the mayor was out of action for quite a while, so the deputy has to step into that role. The deputy doesn't then assume the mayor's wages. The deputy has to carry on the role of mayor whilst being on a deputy mayor salary. So I'll just add that.
Yes, Lindley will clarify.
If the mayor is unavailable for a month and the deputy has to step in, then the deputy is remunerated accordingly. So there is, yeah.
You never know what happens. I'm not sure where this is going. So are you putting anything across?
Well, I kind of asked everybody.
Neither of the speakers can move anything, so...
I was just asking the question though.
Yeah.
You know, and what everybody, I was just interested what everybody else thought about this too. My councillors, fellow councillors.
Yes, you can, Councillor Johnson.
I have a concern just really around that Kylie's taken the hit on the other increases. I think it's a values thing for me. I'm new in this environment, and what I'm unsure about is the responsibilities of each of the positions and the reasons why some of this has been put in place. So, but my initial response is that we've all had increases and Kylie's had a decrease. So that was where my thinking was coming from.
Councillor Lega.
Can I just point out, you should talk about the role, not the person. Kylie has not had a decrease as deputy mayor, she's had an increase. So if you want to talk about people, you're talking about the position.
Taku.
Yeah, I just want to talk about equity and partnership. Thank you.
Anyone else? Because it can't change unless anybody moves an amendment, and it has to be someone who's not spoken, and your councillors...
I'm just to reaffirm that it just doesn't look good, you know. First time as a Māori deputy mayor and a Māori seat from an electorate comes in, and all of a sudden, you got to ask yourself.
The only thing you can do is move to lay it on the table, somebody. That's all you can do. Somebody who hasn't spoken, That's the only way it can change, because this was not brought forward any earlier.
Lindley would like to.
Yeah, Lindley?
Just to process, councillors, we need a decision. If this increase is going to be put into place before Christmas, a decision needs to be made today, because the remuneration require a decision by the 16th of November, next week. If we delay this, then the Remuneration Authority will consider this in the new year, and of course the back pays do still apply, but the increase, because you're on the minimum at the moment, the increases won't take effect until next year when they put out an additional determination.
Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, I don't do this for the money that I get for it, actually. I do it for the satisfaction that I get from the community, from helping and working around the community. If we're doing it for monetary reward, then I think we're in it for the wrong business, wrong reason.
I'll come to you, Councillor Nallo. So I think we've only got 3 or 4 who haven't spoken. So you need to change, when you speak, you need to put an amendment forward if you want to make a change. So I don't want anyone to speak and get it wrong. So I just want to give you a couple of minutes. So could we adjourn for 10 minutes? Okay, welcome back. So our next speaker up, Mose. Councillor Mallow.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I too share the same sentiments as my fellow councillors. Oh, Ewan, sorry. For me, it's not about money, it's about the principle. And for that reason, I'd like to move the amendment to change the pay scales for the Deputy Mayor and the chairs. Thank you.
And seconded by? We need to know what they are first, so we'll work it out. Lindley, could you work out what those pay scale changes will be?
So if you were to change the pay scale for the deputy mayor to 70,000 per annum, that will decrease the chair of Te Puna Kōrero, chair 1 to 65,250 and chair 2 to 65,250, and there would be no other change to the chair's roles or the councillor salary with no additional responsibilities. And that keeps with us within the pool as determined by the Remuneration Authority.
Thank you. So I have a seconder, Councillor Waddle. Thank you. So you can speak to that now if you'd like to, Councillor Nallo.
I think I've shared my thoughts. I think optic-wise, this is the first time we've had the Māori ward in our city. We acknowledged her that she's the deputy mayor. I think it's only right that the pay reflects the responsibilities that she gets, whatever that is. Optic-wise for me, principle-wise for me, it makes sense for me to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I can open it up for everybody else to have a conversation. Anything to be said? Councillor Trillin?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to note on this, the discussion of pay does make me feel uncomfortable. I feel like as many of us haven't had chairing experiences and other similar experiences before, we don't necessarily have a strong understanding of the degree of work. I think the person who is in a position to make that judgment the best is probably yourself as the mayor. And so I'm happy to take direction from you the way that you'll be voting on this. I'll support your recommendation.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
I couldn't have said it any better than Josh said it.
Anybody else? Well, I will be voting for the amendment because I do support my council. There is the number around the table and I do support going forward with what everybody decides. So I think they have the numbers around the table and I'm happy to support that. So I will move it. All those in favour of the amendment? Aye. All those against? Councillor, you want that recorded?
So that was for the amendment.
That was for the amendment. So we move the substantive, which is all of it now. All those in favour? Want to abstain? Abstain. Okay. So that's Kylie and Ross.
Sorry, you were abstaining from the amendment as well as the substantive? Both.
Yes, she did.
Both.
Yeah. So that's passed. So we move to updates to standing orders. 8.4. I'll move it to put it on the table. Seconded by anybody? Councillor Duncan, thank you. Right, any discussion on that? Oh, okay. All those in favour? Aye. All those against? Carried. 0.5, terms of reference. Move it to put on the table. Thank you. Councillor Ford seconded. Any discussion? No, we're flying through now. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. 8.6, council representation on external committees. I will move that to put on the table. Seconded by Councillor Philo. Any discussion? All those in favour? Carried. And 8.7, approval of schedule of meetings. Move that to put that on the table. Seconded by Councillor Nallo. No discussion on that one either. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Meeting closed at 9:07. Thank you.